Hey, I'm Steven. At 28, life's going great. I'm crushing it as a software engineer, and AI is my jam. I spend my days making smart tech even smarter. Got a swanky downtown apartment, a car that turns heads, and the best part? My girlfriend, Melissa. Steven, you're such a nerd, she laughs, watching me tinker with my latest project. This nerd's going to change the world someday, I grin back. We've been together for 2 years, and she's a firecracker, always keeping me on my toes as a marketing exec. We just click, you know. Same wavelength, always supporting each other's dreams. Lately, I've been thinking about taking things to the next level. I've got the ring and everything. You seem distracted lately, Melissa says over dinner one night. Everything okay at work? Work's fine, I assure her. Just thinking about us, about the future. Her eyes light up, but I keep my poker face. No spoilers yet. But before I propose, there's one last thing I want to do. Ask her parents, the Thompsons, for their blessing. The Thompsons are big shots in the city, always throwing fancy parties and rubbing elbows with the elite. The first time I met them, it was all smiles and handshakes, but something felt off. It's a pleasure to meet you, Stephen, Mr. Thompson said, his tone smooth but distant. Melissa speaks highly of you. We're always excited to meet Melissa's friends, Mrs. Thompson added, her emphasis on friends stinging more than I'd like to admit. Thank God for my best friend Jake. We've been tight since college, and he's always watching my back. Over beers one night, Jake said, "Those Thompsons give me the creeps." You sure about this? I shrugged it off. They're not that bad. Just watch yourself, he warned. People like that, they play by different rules. His words stuck with me, though. Still, I love Melissa, and I want to do this right. So, I decide to ask the Thompsons for their blessing. When I hint at my plan, Melissa beams. You're really going to ask my parents? That's so sweet, Stephen. You know me, I joke. Mr. Traditional. The day of the meeting with the Thompsons, I'm feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. This is it, the first step toward forever with Melissa. But there's a nagging feeling in my gut, a voice whispering that maybe Jake was right. Maybe I'm stepping into something bigger than I realize. I arrive at their mansion, palms sweaty. Straightening my tie, I take a deep breath and ring the doorbell. Mr. Thompson opens the door, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Stephen, welcome. Please, come in. Their living room is all polished mahogany and leather, intimidating. Mr. Thompson gets right to business. Melissa tells us you have something to discuss. Clearing my throat, I muster up the words. Yes, sir. I love your daughter very much, and I'd like to ask for your blessing to marry her. A tense silence follows, before Mr. Thompson chuckles. A cold, humorless sound. Marriage is a serious commitment, Stephen. We need to ensure you're suitable. My stomach drops as he pulls out a thick document. What's this? I ask, taking it hesitantly. Just a formality, Mrs. Thompson chimes in. We'll need access to your complete medical records before we can consider approving this engagement. I nearly choke. I'm sorry. What? It's quite simple, Mr. Thompson says, his tone patronizing. We need to ensure there are no genetic surprises lurking in your family tree. It's for Melissa's future. I can't believe what I'm hearing. This is insane. It's a complete violation of my privacy. Now, Mrs. Thompson says icily. If you have nothing to hide, why object? Because it's none of your business. I snap, my anger rising. My medical history is between me and my doctor. Mr. Thompson's voice hardens. We only want what's best for Melissa. Surely you can understand that. I stand up, my hands shaking. I'm sorry, but this is completely unacceptable. I won't do it. Think about it, Stephen, Mr. Thompson warns. Don't throw away your future with Melissa over something so trivial. I leave, my mind racing, and head straight to Melissa's apartment. When I tell her what happened, I expect her to be outraged. But instead, she looks conflicted. Maybe they have a point, she says softly. I mean, it's not like you have anything to hide, right? I stare at her in disbelief. Melissa, are you serious right now? I just don't want to disappoint them, she mumbles. Maybe if you just comply, it'll keep the peace. I leave her place feeling betrayed and completely alone. There's only one person I can turn to. Jake. We meet at our usual bar, and I spill everything. Those manipulative bastards. Jake explodes. Who the hell do they think they are? I don't know what to do, I admit. Melissa's not even backing me up. Jake's eyes narrow. Something's not right here, man. This isn't just overprotective parents. I'm going to do some digging. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my doctor. Stephen, I'm not sure what's going on, but Mr. Thompson has been pressuring me to release your medical records. This is highly unethical, and I won't comply. But be careful. I showed the text to Jake, my hands shaking. His eyes widened. Holy, Jake whispered. Stephen, these people are dangerous. We need to figure out what they're really after. As I sat there, reality started crashing down on me. The perfect life I thought I had, the woman I loved, the future I'd been planning. It all felt like it was slipping away. And for what? Some twisted power play by the Thompsons. One thing was clear. This wasn't over, and I wasn't going down without a fight. After that night with Jake, the sense of unease wouldn't leave me. Everything I thought I knew about my relationship with Melissa started to unravel. Little things I'd brushed off before now seemed like giant red flags. Why did you cancel our weekend getaway? I asked Melissa one day. She fidgeted with her phone, avoiding eye contact. Oh, Mom and Dad are hosting a charity gala. They really want me to be there. It hit me then. How often our plans seemed to change because of her parents. How she'd always check with them before making big decisions. Even her job at that fancy marketing firm. Turns out her dad had pulled some strings. Meanwhile, Jake had been busy. He showed up at my place one night, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Stephen, you're not going to believe this, he said, laying out a pile of papers on my coffee table. Remember Melissa's sister, the one who got divorced last year? I nodded, not sure where this was going. Well, I talked to her ex-husband. Guess what? The Thompsons pulled the same stunt with him. Demanded medical records, background checks, everything. When he refused, they made his life hell until the marriage fell apart. My stomach churned. You're kidding me. That's not all. Jake's face darkened. I did some digging at your company. You know the promotion you were up for last month? The one that went to that new guy instead. A chill ran down my spine. No way. Yep. Mr. Thompson had a quiet word with the board, made you sound like a risky investment. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All this time, they'd been sabotaging me behind the scenes. But why? Jake wasn't finished. The final blow came when he played me a recording. It was Mrs. Thompson's voice, crystal clear. I don't care how smart he is. Stephen's from, well, common stock. Melissa needs someone from our world, someone who understands our values. We can't have her settling for some nouveau tech boy. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those smiles and polite conversations with her parents. It was all fake. A lie. I knew what I had to do. I invited Melissa over, laid everything out in front of her. The text from my doctor, what Jake had uncovered, even the recording of her mother. I expected shock, maybe anger at her parents. Instead, are you seriously believing all this? Melissa scoffed. Jake's always had it out for my family. He's probably making half of this up. Melissa, there's proof. I pleaded, trying to get through to her. Your parents have been manipulating us from the beginning. Her eyes narrowed. So what if they have? They're just looking out for me. God, Stephen, why are you trying to turn me against my family? It was like a veil lifted. For the first time, I saw Melissa not as the woman I loved, but as someone blindly loyal to her parents, a puppet dancing to their tune. I can't do this anymore, I said quietly. Her expression hardened. What are you saying? I'm saying it's over. We're done. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I sank onto the couch, feeling numb. Hours later, Jake found me there, staring blankly at the wall. You okay, man? He asked softly. I shook my head. No, but I will be. I stood up, a new resolve filling me. Those people have been messing with people's lives for too long. It's time someone exposed them for who they really are. Jake grinned. Now that's the Stephen I know. So, what's the plan? As we started to plot, I felt a mix of sadness and determination. My relationship with Melissa was over, but this fight, it was just beginning. The Thompsons thought they could push me around and destroy my life without consequences. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sitting at my computer, fingers hovering over the keyboard, I took a deep breath and hit send on an email to Sarah, a journalist I'd met at a tech conference the year before. Hey Sarah, got a tip for you. Prominent lawyer trying to illegally access medical records. Interested? Her reply came within minutes. Intrigued. Tell me more. I spilled everything. Mr. Thompson's demands, the pressure on my doctor, the whole sordid affair. Sarah was all over it. This is huge, Stephen. I'm on it. While Sarah dug into Mr. Thompson's shady dealings, I turned my attention to Mrs. Thompson. Time to put my tech skills to use. It took some effort, but I managed to trace Mrs. Thompson's online activities. What I found made my jaw drop. Jake, I said, calling him immediately. You're not going to believe this. Remember those fancy charity galas the Thompsons are always hosting? It's all a scam. Mrs. Thompson's been siphoning off donations for years. Holy, Stephen, we've hit the motherlode. Over the next few weeks, everything unraveled. Sarah's expose on Mr. Thompson hit the front page. Prominent lawyer caught in medical records scandal. The story detailed a pattern of abuse, with Mr. Thompson using his connections to access confidential information on various people. Then came the revelations of charity fraud. The Thompsons' carefully crafted image crumbled overnight. Their phones rang off the hook, but this time it wasn't for party invitations. It was former friends distancing themselves, the Bar Association launching an investigation, and even the police asking questions. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Then, one day, my phone buzzed. It was Melissa. Stephen, can we talk? Please? We met at a coffee shop. She looked different, smaller, somehow, without her parents' influence looming over her. Her eyes were red, and she looked down at her cup. I'm so sorry, she said, tears brimming. You were right about everything. I should have stood by you. Can we try again? I looked at her, remembering all the good times we'd shared. But something had changed. I'd changed. I'm sorry, Melissa, I said gently. But no, we've both got a lot of healing to do. I think it's best if we do that separately. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. As she left, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Weeks passed, and my career took off. Turns out, when you don't have rich lawyers sabotaging you, people start to notice your work. I threw myself into my AI projects with renewed passion. Stephen, your latest algorithm is groundbreaking, my boss said one day. We're fast-tracking the patent. Life was good, and it got even better when Sarah called. Hey, want to grab dinner? I've got some follow-up questions about the Thompson story. Dinner turned into drinks, and drinks turned into long conversations about everything and nothing. Before I knew it, we were dating. It was refreshing, No games, no hidden agendas. Just two people genuinely enjoying each other's company. I'm proud of you, man, Jake said one night over beers. You stood up for yourself, took down the bad guys, and got the girl. I laughed. When you put it like that, it sounds like a movie. Better than a movie, Jake grinned. It's real life. Looking back, I felt grateful. Grateful that I discovered the truth before it was too late. Grateful for friends like Jake who had my back. And grateful for new beginnings with someone like Sarah. The story of Stephen and the Thompsons had come to an end. Now, here's a question for you. If you were in Stephen's shoes, would you have exposed the Thompsons' unethical behavior or kept quiet to maintain your relationship with Melissa? What would you have done differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below.